Good morning. My name is Marge Swearinga, and today we're reading story number 34 from the Gospel Story Bible by Marty Machowski. Today's story is called God Gives Moses the 10 Commandments. It's on page 68 for those of you who'd like to look it up and follow along. And this story is taken from Exodus chapter 20. Exodus, as you probably know, is in the Old Testament, the beginning of our Bible. It's actually the second book found in our Bible after Genesis. Let's give you one more chance to look at that picture real close. Let's begin. God gives Moses the 10 Commandments. After 3 months of walking through the desert, the people of Israel came to Mount Sinai. They camped at the bottom of the mountain. It's called the foot of the mountain, while Moses went up to meet with God. God told Moses to set a boundary at the base of the mountain and to warn people not to cross it. In 3 days, God said he would come down where the people could see him. If the people even touched the edge of that boundary, they would die because his presence, God's presence, was and is holy, and the people were sinful. On the 3rd day, the mountain shook with thunder, and lightning filled the sky. Suddenly, the people heard a loud trumpet blast. They all heard it, and the mountain was covered with smoke. No one had ever seen anything like that before. Courageously, Moses went up onto the mountain to meet with God. And God spoke to him in the thunder. God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, and Moses brought them back to the people. Here's what those 10 Commandments said. I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make an idol for yourself in the shape of anything at all. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Honor your father and mother, that you may live long in the land. You shall not murder. You shall not take your neighbor's wife for yourself. You shall not steal. You shall not lie and bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house or anything he owns. When the people heard the thunder and saw the lightning and heard that loud trumpet, they trembled. They said they were afraid to talk to God, or talk with God, I should say. Moses said to the people, don't be afraid. God has come to test you. He wants you to respect and honor him so that you won't sin. Then Moses walked closer to God, and God gave him these words to tell Israel. You have seen for yourselves that I have talked with you from heaven. Do not make gods of silver or gold to worship along with me. After Moses gave Israel God's message, the people agreed to obey all that God had said. And Moses wrote down the words the Lord gave him. Do you know why God gave Israel and us those commandments? The Apostle Paul said that God's commandments, which we call the law, taught him what sin was. He said that if God had not given us the law, we wouldn't know what sin is. Paul also said the law acts like a teacher, like a schoolmaster, to teach us about Christ. You see, once we know God's law and we see how many times we break it, we realize that we're sinners and we need a Savior. And that's where Jesus comes in. How about you? Have you broken God's laws? I know I have. None of us can obey God's law perfectly. None of us except for, that's right, except for Jesus. When we put our faith in him, Jesus takes away our sin and gives us his perfect record of obedience. That is how we can be saved from God's judgment for breaking his law. I'm showing you the picture again while I ask you some questions to think about. First question is, what is Moses holding? Our second question is, where did Moses get that? And our third question is, what is happening to the mountain? Tune in to our next video to learn more about God's big story. If you're one of our boys and girls who are following along at home in your long story short devotional, we are on week 34. And starting on Monday, you can begin on day 1.